I'm calling the meeting to order. First of all, for public participation, there's three ways to submit public comment. One is email your comment directly to the Planning Division. Two is submitting written comments via the city's website. And three is attending the meeting in person. Number one, if you want to email your comments, you simply email a comment to the planning identified in the public hearing notice to M. Van Langenhuizen at dalycity.org. Public comment may also be emailed and by including Planning Commission public comment in the subject line. Number two, to submit a comment via the city website, visit the dalycity.org agenda to complete the public comment form. In the comment field box, include the item number and or title of the item, as well as your comments. Number three, to speak at the meeting in person, please complete a speaker card located at the entrance to the chambers and submit it to staff members as early as in the meeting as possible. All written comments received by 4 p.m. on the meeting day will be provided to the Planning Commission prior to the meeting. Comments are not read aloud into the record. Any written comments received after 4 p.m. on the meeting date are not guaranteed to be received by the Planning Commission prior to the meeting. Persons with disabilities who require auxiliary aids or services in attending or participating in the meeting should call the office in advance as soon as possible. So I've just called the meeting to order. If you would join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Thank you. Can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, Commissioner Couture.
Couture, present.
Commissioner Fapu.
Here.
Commissioner Norris.
Here.
Commissioner Soto.
Present.
Okay, so we have a quorum, so we are able to continue and do business. The first item is approval of the minutes. That would be the minutes of March 3rd of the Planning Commission. Those have been sent out to us in advance. Has anyone have any questions or comments about the minutes? Any additions or corrections?
No.
All right, hearing none then, is there a motion to accept the minutes as submitted?
Motion.
Thank you.
So moved, yeah.
Moved in second. All in
Second,
favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, then they are approved. So now we're going to go on to public hearings. And the first public hearing is the Coastal Development Permit CDP -01-24-16453 Coastal Development Permit for new horse stable activities at 2152 Olympic Way. Michael?
Yes, thank you, Chair, members of the Planning Commission. This is a request by Tony Cazares for coastal development permit at 2152 Olympic Way. We have a presentation for you, of course. So the site's location, again, is 2152 Olympic Way. This is just north of the city's Thornton Beach Overlook property on Olympic Way on the west side of Highway 35. I think we're probably all familiar with where exactly it is. This is an existing horse stable as well as equestrian facility. The property provides recreational uses and has for many years to the public at this location. This is a view of the existing street view looking westward from Olympic Way toward the property. Some of the uses that can be seen here are the existing training ring, that's the exhibition ring that's used for equestrian uses, as well as some food-related uses that have been there for quite some time to provide patrons to the property with something to eat while they're visiting, as well as a number of stables and barns in which the animals, the horses, that is, are kept 24/7, 365. So this is a permanent home for those animals. So the description of the use is, and we have some photos and a site plan also, which will follow this. basically a modest in scale, temporary operation equipment supporting instruction, supervision, and coordination of activities is essentially the applicant's description of what they're doing in what they're proposing, which is, again, trailers that are not structured and they're not installed or constructed on the site, and they remain on wheels, and this is most important, at all times. So this makes them not a structure. When we were considering how to review this application, this property is in the city's RP, it's zone C1, retail, office, commercial, but it has a resource protection overlay zone. And normally with structures in the resource protection overlay zone, there's a list of criteria that we use to evaluate the uses and their compliance with the RP zone. This particular use, because they're on wheels, they're trailered and then they're not structures. So even though a coastal development permit is required, and we'll get into the nuances of that in a moment, some of the regulations that pertain to what are considered structures by the city don't pertain to this use. So the trailers, as they are, can be relocated as needed and placed within existing operational footprint of the facility, so they can be moved around on the site. And the plan is to do that every now and then as needed for continued use of the site. The use does not alter the physical characteristics of the site or expand the operational footprint. So all of the areas that are being used by the equestrian center are not proposed for any sort of expansion. And that's kind of an important point for us to, of course, note. And again, they are not attached to the ground, nor do they require utilities. So we just provided a slide that shows the historical operational background of the Ocean View Stables. The historical operation has been as a horse boarding and equestrian facility serving the local community. The primary of use will continue to support these operations, including horse boarding, riding, training, and horsemanship introduction. It's, as most of you may know, a very unique facility in San Mateo County, and in fact in the Bay Area that we have here in Daly City. It provides a host of uses to a wide variety of age groups for access to equestrian and introduction to equestrian type activities. The applicant utilizes the small mobile trailers and similar equipment within previously developed parking areas of the property. So the areas that are occupied by the trailers are previously disturbed. They're not areas that have never been disturbed by people. That's just the nature of them. And yeah. So this overhead shows the proposed site plan. And to orient the Planning Commission, this is where the mouse pointer is. I feel like I'm not loud enough. Where the mouse pointer is Olympic Way. And essentially the downslope, if you will, down towards the beach occurs off property, but about where the mouse is. And the applicant's proposal is the set of, again, trailers that would be used, again, for advancing the educational aspects of the site with regard to equestrian uses. There's a number of existing facilities on the site, and they've existed for many years. There seems to be some confusion about some being new structures. They just kind of get moved around, is our impression of what's happening there. Yeah, essentially they're not new structures. The only thing that's being proposed at this time is the as I mentioned, the trailers that are mobile on wheels. And we can revisit this if you'd like. I should mention parking does occur in the public right-of-way. Staff's been to the site quite a number of times, and we've never noticed that, even on the weekends. I personally cycled past this location almost every weekend, and anecdotally, I've never noticed any sort of a parking issue, even at peak use times. So again, these are the non-structured trailers here. Again, all on wheels. This is a pedestrian path. I believe that's off-site, but people do walk by from north to south as they gain access to the coast. And it is true, of course, that the trailers have already been situated on the property. That's something that we should make clear. So the applicant's coming to sort of rectify an existing condition. So the next few slides get into some detail about the consistency of the proposal with the Coastal Development Program. Daly City has a local coastal program, an LCP, that was adopted in the mid-1980s, so it's quite old, but still in effect. And then there's, of course, the Coastal Act. And so the city staff has compiled, we don't need to go into a whole lot of detail here, but we'll touch on each one, a list of reasons, and they're included in the Planning Commission's finding as to why the development proposal, and it is development, and that's the second bullet, is consistent with the city's LCP as well as California's Coastal Act. So the first thing is that the use is in support of the proposed trailers are in support of an existing use, the equestrian educational aspect of the site. The activity does constitute a development under California's Public Resources Code, and so we do need to, even though they're not structures, it does constitute a development under California law. So we have to take a look at we have to evaluate, rather, the proposal under statutes. And so what those are, beginning with the bullet 3, Public Resources Code treats the project as a minor development where the development is consistent with the LCP, requires no discretionary approvals other than the coastal development permit, which is sought tonight, and there's no adverse effect on coastal resources or public access. So this is actually sort of a key finding, if you will. This site and this use in particular actually brings the city's residents and residents of the Bay Area and all Californians actually to enjoy the coastline more. And so the access to coastal resources is actually enhanced by the proposal. And for that reason, we have found the proposal consistent with this aspect of the of California's Public Resources Code and in support of the minor development finding. So the project can satisfy, in particular, this project, the one that I've described to you thus far, satisfies the criteria because it consists of limited temporary operational equipment. So this, again, the trailers are on wheels. They can be removed at any time. And they're accessory to the existing equestrian use. The use occurs within the previously developed areas of the site, as I described to you, and does not involve the disturbance of the site or any expansion of the use. In fact, it just enhances existing land uses on the property. And essentially this slide, this bullet number, identifies the proposal's compliance in that it, of course, as I mentioned, complies with the city's LCP, but it does not violate any environmentally sensitive habitat area. Again, what's proposed is, we've looked at historical photos of the property. What's happening is well within the boundaries of previously developed portions of the site, so there's no environmental impact in terms of the environmentally sensitive habitat areas. In fact, we've proposed that what's proposed is categorically exempt from California's Environmental Quality Act. So the project does not alter access routes or restrict public access, and does not affect coastal access opportunities. As I mentioned, those opportunities are actually enhanced by the proposal. And then lastly, the Public Resources Code identifies a criteria of the proposal changing in the intensity or density of the use of the land. And staff has found that actually just the enhancement and providing, again, additional facilities for people who are already using the property, that in fact this finding can also be made. As I mentioned, and one of the, we believe a resident of the area, I don't think they put their address on the letter, did send a letter, and we did forward that to you. And one of the things they correctly pointed out was that we have two reasons for categorical exemptions under CEQA. They actually both apply, so we can choose either one. But we did use the 15301 existing facilities categorical exemption, which this proposal is categorically exempt from California's Environmental Quality Act. So we are recommending that the Planning Commission affirm the environmental assessment and forward the coastal development permit to the City Council for affirmation. If there's any questions, the city staff, of course, is available to answer those, as well as the applicant is available tonight to answer any questions you have.
Okay. At this point, are we required to conduct a public hearing?
Yes.
All right, so I'll call for the public hearing, and then I'll come back to the board members for questions or comments. So the public hearing on this matter is now open. If there are any members of the public that would like to speak on this, please come forward. And if you filled out a card, it'd be good to give it up now. All right, there are no members of the public who are here to address the board, so the public hearing is now closed. So now, board members, if you have questions or comments, I'm happy to recognize you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner Satori.
it says here that's why we're having response to public comment. Do you have any public comment here that you can cite why somebody is opposed to this? Do you have the names and?
Well, there was a letter submitted to it was actually sent to the City Council, but we forwarded it to the Planning Commission.
Do you have it?
It was forwarded to the Planning Commission.
Yes.
Because I understand, not too long ago, when we have this supposedly a hotel being built, most of those who oppose this are not from Daly City. They are from San Francisco. Have you not noticed that? All of them, practically. And we are developing the Daly City as it is, but San Francisco is trying to meddle on our development plan. That is why I am asking, who are those people who are writing letters to the city opposing this kind of project? Because I remember, is Mr. Tony Casares here? Is
Tony
the
Casares
cowboy?
is himself not
Oh. How many horses do you have? How many horses do you
we have 20.
Come on up. For the record, please identify
Oh,
yourself.
Mr.
for the
Cowboy,
record.
yeah.
I'm Zachary Layden. I'm a business partner of Tony Casares, owner of the facility as well. And we have 26 full-size horses and one mini horse.
You know, when we came here in 1992, I remember 3 of my girls, we always go there every weekend. I think you were still young at that time. And my daughter was about 5 years old. The other one is 10, and the other one is 14. Every week we go there, and because they want to horseback riding, they want to learn about equestrian
Yeah.
thing, and I can't assume that this place can be a tourist spot if only it will be developed properly. Because I remember in 1992, we stopped going there practically 2000 something because they're old already.
Yeah.
And I remember vividly that this place can be a good tourist spot for Daly City because you have horses, and if we can develop this as a hub for people who wants to go there and, take a walk on the trail and then eat there, the breakfast or lunch or whatever, it will be a good idea, Your Honor, Mr. Chairman. That is why that's why I'm asking those who are opposing this. I'm pretty sure that Daly City residents, and we're trying to develop this city as good as we can. And I remember that we have really to develop that area.
Yeah.
And I concur with whatever plans you have. And for as long as it can help really the revenue also of the city.
Yes.
And especially those people who are walking the trail. And after probably they can go into like merienda or coffee, or if we can probably do that also. And I can assure you that we can be able to support it. And
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
And the city is doing their job too, because there's now a walkway being built to the state park or the federal
yes,
park.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's being built right now, and I think that's amazing. As far as the horse facility, it is a community thing, but it's also a tourist thing. We are a horsemanship academy first, and we're bringing horses to the community, and so that you guys know, this is the only horse facility left on the peninsula. There was one in Golden Gate Park that got shut down 2 years ago. I believe 2 years ago, and so now we're the only one. So it is the horse facility of San Francisco, Daly City, San Mateo, and it's a staple for sure.
That is why, Mr. Chairman, I urge the city council and the city management to help them also, because we need this kind of place wherein we can relax, at the same time we can eat while we want to walk in the trail. Then after that we can have soft drinks or water or.
Yeah, and we also do like all-day clinics. So a 15-hour clinic where you guys come out and you're spending a couple hours learning from me on horsemanship practices, and then I have to reset, pull out other horses. You don't want to just stand there twiddling your fingers, so you can go enjoy some food or go look at the sun, the ocean.
And the city of Daly City should be aware that we have such place like this horseback riding, equestrian, educational field trip for the young people also to learn about what is America is known to be the horse country before the
Yes.
the advent of the new technology. So you can probably encourage those that who wants to make exercise, they can probably pass by there and probably have to rest at the same time.
Yeah.
That is why we have removed the fence in that, because people can walk around
That was-
and have some fun in walking around, and then probably we can rest in your area.
And I appreciate that too. That was a big win
Yeah,
for you guys.
The
Thank
city
you.
should be proactive on this. Not only giving permit, but you have to have so-called study well carefully about the area, because the city is mostly on malls,
Yes.
like stores, whereas we have the nature here, like horseback riding is a good one. I remember in 1992 we always go there, and my kids at the time were just small and they love it. And that's why I'm asking, how many horses do you have?
Yeah, we have over 26 horses.
Because this one can be a good place, really, a tourist spot eventually, if the city will just study this carefully.
And we're working with the city. We've been talking with the police department on an inner city youth program, working with them.
Yes, actually, I'm going to that about the public safety and hazard.
Yeah.
You have that. You have the camera. Did you put a lot of cameras in your stall? So more or less, public safety must be at least safeguarded also. But
I'm
the
sorry.
people going.
Can you say that again? I'm sorry, I missed.
I mean to say, if you can put up some safeguards to the place, so more or less, people will always feel safe, like putting up a camera, putting up some sort of safeguards. And
We have cameras on every inch of that property, so you can't walk on the property without being seen by our
that's what I'm
cameras.
saying.
Yeah.
So the moment we go there, I feel safe because people are looking at you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner Sator, for those
Thank you very
those
much, sir.
remarks. They're very good remarks.
Thank you.
Commissioner Fapu, any comments?
No, I am amazed with the work that you have over there. I've never stepped on your facility. I never step, but I always pass by there to go to church and Skyline. However, I'm very interested in the activities that you have there.
Yeah.
And what age are you able to cater to? Do you do any activities for senior citizens?
Yeah. So we cater to all ages. Our academy is both for children and adults. The way I like to look at it with the horses and the sport of horsemanship is you can keep getting older, you just get younger horses. The horse is the athlete, you just need to know how to talk to him. So our program is to teach you how to speak with horses, to understand horsemanship, to understand how to get along with these animals in a kind and humane way. And then from there, you can take it into competition, which we sponsor our students to go to competition with me when they get to that level. So this is all the way from never riding to competition ready. As far as elderly groups, we do have a group right now that comes out, and they just come out and they pet the horse and stay around them, and they get to move around, so it helps them just get some fresh air and be around nature. And as of now, we just don't charge for that. We allow them to come in. Military veterans also ride for free. I'm a military veteran, wounded warrior, and coming back from Afghanistan, horses saved me and brought me back to present, helped me with my PTSD. And so to give back, veterans ride for free. As far as our program, we can do from 3 to 90. So
That's amazing.
Do you still have donkey
we do not have a donkey there.
for the kids? I mean,
But we have a miniature horse. I bought the miniature horse for my daughter's 3rd birthday last year. And now it is out for birthday parties and for youngsters and everybody. It's the most well-behaved miniature horse you'll ever find. So
In the trailers that you have there, how many trailers do you have there?
the amount that we were proposing is 10. We have 8 that are on property right now. And yeah, the idea is, like I said, we have clinics that can go for 15 hours. We have people that are coming for the sip and paint experience, which you can come have a horse out. You're going to be taught by an artist how to paint a horse on your canvas. And then you might do a lesson early in the morning, and then you might do a trail ride in the evening, and then the sip and paint in the afternoon. We were just looking for a way to give people a space to be at while they are enjoying all of the different features that we have here.
Okay. Thank you, and thank you for
course.
your service.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Couture, any comments?
Yes, so I actually stopped by unannounced today after we received all these, letters, and I was just, curious. I did see the mobile trailers, and they are indeed, mobile trailers. It's all very exciting and all, good for, the city. Being the only one of its kind nearby, I think it's going to be great for our city, for exposure, and also just the nature of it, embracing scenery, nature, and love for animals. I think it's great, and thank you for developing it, and hopefully we can help you
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
become successful.
All right. I would just echo the comments of my colleagues here. I think it's a great project. It's a good use of the land, and it's an opportunity for all of our people who really don't have an opportunity to share in this type of an experience, to have it right here at home, and we're very lucky to have it.
Yes.
And so at this point, then, if there isn't anything further, I think it's time for us to have a motion. What motion exactly would you like? I know we have findings.
Thank you. Thank you.
It would be a motion to approve the coastal development permit. Somebody would need to make a motion
And to adopt the findings.
yes, adopt the findings, affirm the environmental assessment, and recommend approval or approve the coastal development permit.
Is there a motion to that effect?
A motion to adopt the findings as outlined herein.
Thank
Number
you.
1, number 2, and 3.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
All right, roll call, please.
Commissioner Couture?
yes.
Yes.
Yes. Commissioner Fapua?
That's a yes.
Chairman Nuris?
Yes.
And Commissioner Satori?
Yes.
All right, the ayes have
Double
it.
yes. Double
And
yes.
it's been approved by the
Napakaganda.
Planning Commission. It will go up to the City Council for their consideration. Thank you for coming out and sharing the information with us.
Congratulations.
Yes, and that'll be on May 26th, a Tuesday.
One last request, Mr. Chairman. Can you
Yes.
paint all those places white so people can see it clearly, as clean as your facility? Can you paint it
want me to repaint it?
Repaint, yeah. So it looks clean if it is white.
You
I
want me
don't
to-
know. It's up to you guys.
Yeah. It's mostly white with black trim right now.
Yeah.
But it has been 3 years since we painted it, so maybe.
Because that place can be a good party place also for the kids, especially the
Yeah.
horseback riding. You still have roundabout, right?
Yeah, I'll let my wife know that we need to repaint it. She'll be happy. So.
Thank
You very much, Mr. Cowboy.
Thank you.
Good evening, Councilwoman. Nice to join us. Next item on our agenda, if I can find it here, is zone change ZC 0426-17042, amendment to Chapter 17.04, definitions, Chapter 17.35040, general property development requirements, and Chapter 17.40.090, review of modifications to residential floor plans, repeal of Chapter 17.40.100, secondary unit standards and requirements, and 14.40.110, certificate of registration requirements. Michael.
Yes. Chairman Norris, members of the Planning Commission, this is a request by the City of Daly City to amend this Daly City zoning ordinance. The chairman outlined the sections that are proposed for amendment, and we, of course, have a presentation for you. This is sort of an outgrowth or an implementation measure, so to speak, of the city's housing element. We're kind of going through the housing element now and identifying areas where we need to update the city's codes. Some of you may be aware or through the workshops you've been through, or been to rather, of the cities or the state's evolving regulations with regard to accessory dwelling units. And getting into the background of this, and I'm going to deliver more than what the screen says, but essentially accessory dwelling units, we used to call them second units in Daly City, and sometimes they were called granny units back in the 1980s, are essentially additional self-contained residential units within a home. And usually in Daly City, what that translates into is essentially the unfinished basements of a lot of the houses, especially the post-war constructed houses, have this area that was left unfinished. And so people have finished them off with these, they used to be called second units. So Daly City, since the early 1980s, has had a very robust second unit program. We had a lot of second units constructed illegally. So in the 1990s, we went through a process of legalizing the ADUs, or second units. Let's call them second units until we get to the current time. So this concept isn't new in Daly City. In many parts of California, there's been a lot of resistance to this type of activity on a single-family property. And so the state has had to come in and strengthen the ADU laws. And so fast forward to the present time, the housing crisis caused by the economic boom of California in the earlier 2000s, 2010s, led to essentially the state passing a number of laws that eased regulation of ADUs throughout California. And in fact, and then we'll get into the slide here, the state has even allowed people to construct a whole different building in the backyard, which is a completely new concept. And people have done that in Daly City. You may have heard of such construction. There's not many. I'm going to just guess there's maybe 20 or 30, because most of them, ADUs are built downstairs, like I said. So that's sort of a background into what second units and ADUs are and have sort of evolved in the state over, say, the past, 40 years. So, since the inception of state mandates for cities to allow ADUs since the 1980s rather, we estimate that actually we have about 2,200 ADUs. We actually counted them for this presentation, and we, given that history, we have a relative trickle now of 30 to 50, but relative to other cities on the peninsula, in this county anyway, this is actually quite a larger number, although I think that some of the larger cities are catching up with us in terms of how many ADUs they permit every year. But historically, we've had this number for quite some time, sustained construction of ADUs. So again, not a new concept to us. So one of the things that was introduced was the junior accessory dwelling unit. The state came up with a concept where if you built an accessory dwelling unit that was 500 square feet or fewer, you could have essentially relaxed building codes that would be allowed. And one of the provisions of this was that, however, that the homeowner had to live on the property. Now, just recently, the state passed a law that removed the homeowner requirement. So now anybody can build a junior ADU so long as the bathroom is not shared with the upstairs. Yeah, so long as it's, a bona fide junior accessory dwelling unit, the homeowner doesn't need to live on the property. So point being there is that the state is every year has new ADU regulations, and we'll get into what that means for our regulations. And it's sort of addressed in a letter we received from the HDF also. So we'll also talk about that in a second. And then the last bullet is just that, again, that some homeowners are utilizing the allowance of building the detached ADU in the backyard. Most of these are about 1,200 square feet, by the way. But that's kind of, not small. But so beginning in 2016, the state legislature passed, again, significant reforms for ADUs that affected all cities in California, charter and what's the other kind of city? Yeah, all cities in California. Key changes included mandatory ministerial approval, so there's no public hearings or anything like that. 60-day review timelines, removal of parking requirements, and this is a very key thing. So I think it was in 2018 or 2020, yeah, 2020, the state passed a regulation that said if you're within a half mile, your house was within a half mile of high quality transit, and there's a definition for that, meaning that there are headways and the bus comes on average every 15 minutes, that you don't have to provide any parking for your ADU. So the city staff at that time drew concentric circles around what we consider to be high quality transit, including Samtrans and Muni lines, and we essentially decided that the entire city was transit proximate. And so throughout Daly City, it's a planning division implementation of state law, no parking is required for an ADU or a junior ADU. So this is a big change from the way that we used to regulate accessory dwelling units. So there's a sort of a concept in law that called preemption, that higher levels of government's laws preempt the lower level of government's laws. Does that make any sense? And so the state of California passed accessory dwelling unit regulations, and all California cities have to comply with them. Some cities are have been sort of in denial about having to do that. Daly City is not one of those places. We've very much have complied with California law. And in fact, we created a handout about 5 years ago called the Accessory Dwelling Unit Guide that essentially explains state law and how the city of Daly City complies with that. So when we developed our housing element, the state actually literally gave us a phone call and said, are you going to adopt your own accessory dwelling unit regulations? Or are you just going to operate under California law? And at that time, we agreed that we would just operate under California law. And yeah, so they were, not happy about that, but they were, that was the solution that we came up with. We didn't put in our housing element that we were going to adopt any separate set of regulations. And the Planning Commission received a letter from I believe it's the Housing Defense Fund, HDF. And one of the first things they comment on that in that letter is applauding, for lack of a better word, the city's basically enforcement of California law. So we're not coming up with our own set of regulations, and people don't have to compare whether our regulations meet the state law. We actually operate under state law. Yeah, there's no reason not to. So and so we have some slides that have the accessory dwelling unit handout just so that you can see what it is. There's visuals that explain to the public. And this form is available at dalycity.org/ADU if you'd like to read it in its entirety, or if you're thinking of building an ADU yourself, or if anybody listening tonight is. So we make the form easy to access on the internet. And so that gets us to tonight, and I've sort of explained some of the bullets. We operate under California law, so we don't have our own regulations, and we're allowed to do that through the concept of preemption. We don't have to have local law. We can rely on state law. And one of the reasons why we do this is, again, California's laws are kind of always changing, and so that we don't have to keep coming back for amendments to our ADU regulations and worrying if they meet, state law that just got passed, or we just operate under California law. So I think that kind of emphasize that. So that's our current practice. So, so leading to tonight, so the people who work in the State Department of Housing and Community Development, we call it HCD, they are the reviewers of the city's housing element, and they review complaints that come from the public about how the city may not be complying, not just Daly City, but any city may not be complying with state law with regard to ADUs or any other housing laws. There's a whole department called HCD, and they've reminded us that we need to repeal our existing regulations, because our existing regulations actually require density calculations and require parking.
It's already repealed.
Yes, exactly. And so there's a whole bunch of regulations currently in Daly City zoning ordinance that are essentially not legal, and so we need to repeal them. So we're proposing that those regulations be repealed. There's also a certificate of registration program that the city has used to essentially document that homeowners are living on the property where their second unit / ADU is. And since homeownership is not required anymore, we're also proposing a repeal of that section. There are some things, though, that we'd like to retain, and they are important to us. And the letter that the Planning Commission received from HDF is suggesting that we can't do these things. And one of the things that we will do in between, because it takes time, when we amend the zoning ordinance, it takes time to go from the Planning Commission to the City Council. It's not like the coastal development permit where it just goes to the next meeting. So we have time, and if the Planning Commission recommends approval of what we're proposing, we'll go to HCD, we'll communicate via email, and they'll let us know whether they're okay with the regulations and they might not be okay, and that won't make it to the City Council. So that's addressing the letter that you received. We are allowed to do some local things. HCD does allow that when it doesn't, basically the HCD staff feels that it doesn't significantly affect ADU production, and we don't think these regulations do affect ADU productions because we have had them. These are existing regulations, and nobody's ever complained about, hey, I can't build my ADU because of this. So we have a track record of this. So, and we'll just go very briefly through what those are. So usually a lot of our ADUs are built in the, what we call post-war subdivisions, which is west of 280. And these are homes that have side yards. They just happen to have the downstairs basements unfinished. And so because of the grade, we had always wanted the ADU entrance to be right by the main entrance of the unit so that the next door neighbor people aren't bothered. Sometimes people hang outside their entrance just like anybody. They're not doing anything wrong, but they hang outside the entrance to their unit, and sometimes they smoke. And we had some complaints 10, 15 years ago about the impact of that to the neighbors. And so we passed a regulation, and we put it in our zoning ordinance, that the ADU had to be on the same side of the home as the main entrance. But that we found out was hard to implement because of the grades that the floor plans were built at. And so it became a popular remedy to address the staff concern that the ADU entrance would be built on the backside of the property. And that definitely worked to address the privacy issue. But it created another problem in that people were, because of, if you can think of a typical Daly City home, the entrance to the house, there's not that, on the side where the main entry is that goes upstairs, there's not that much room between that staircase and the side property line. And so applicants for ADUs were proposing that the entrance be on the other side of the house, which is fine, except that it was causing trespassing issues. People where there was no concrete, it was just dirt, were walking onto the adjacent neighbor's property to get to that rear gate. So if you can kind of envision that. And so what we did is came up with a regulation that said you had to provide a concrete walkway. I believe this is in 2017. That led from the driveway or the public right-of-way all the way to that rear entrance. So people would be walking. So it was a clearly defined, it's a concrete thing people walked on. And so we would like to retain that regulation. So we don't want to have a whole separate ordinance, but we want to put this in another section of the code essentially. And so that's one of the things. Another thing that we've noticed, I'm actually going to skip from number 1 to number 3, is that in homes with no side yard, because we do have ADUs proposed where there's no side yard, we have found a issue where when garages are converted, because now state law allows the conversion of garages to junior ADU and even ADU, where it's needed to fulfill the minimum number of square feet that an ADU can be, if that makes sense. And so what's happened, and this has only happened a couple of times, is that there's no place, because there's no side yard to the house, there's no place to put the trash cans and the recycling bins. And so what we've devised is a proposal that the garage door would be retained. And this requirement actually isn't in the city's ADU regulations currently. It's in another section of the code, and we've implemented it when reviewing ADUs. So what we've proposed is that the garage door be retained, and there be a 36-inch space between the back of the garage door and the beginning of construction of the junior ADU to store trash cans and recycling bins. This is a very similar regulation that occurs in the city and county of San Francisco, and so we do believe that Daly City would be availed to this regulation as well, since it's allowed in San Francisco. So that's the second one we've proposed. And then the third is that if a pedestrian entrance is to occur, and again, this is where this would only happen where there's no side yards, was to occur on the front elevation, we would like that entrance to be perpendicular to the street, so that we just think that's a better visual function, just more aesthetically appealing. This may be one the state doesn't allow, but we have, again, it's existing Daly City zoning ordinance code that we would like to retain. And again, we're not proposing a whole new ordinance out of any of these things. We'll just put them in other sections of the zoning ordinance. But those are the 3 things that we'd like to retain. They seem reasonable. For sort of, some of it's keeping the peace with the next door neighbors, maintaining some visual harmony in neighborhoods, and making sure that, again, people are storing their garbage and recycling materials in a way that, is aesthetically, appealing to the neighborhood. So we will run those past HCD before going to the city council. We do think they'll not have an issue with them, but we'll find out. So that's our proposed local amendments. I should add, that's not in the staff report, is that we have objective design standards for ADUs, and the state does allow those. When the city adopted its citywide residential guidelines a couple of years ago, we did put a couple of sentences in there about how ADUs, and especially where they're going to be built in the rear yard, sort of have to have some architectural qualities as the front home. And so long as the standards are objective, we are allowed to have objective design regulations within reason. And we'll also mention that when we, again, email the state, should the Planning Commission advance this to the City Council. So the project's exempt also from CEQA. And we are recommending that the planning commission make the finding of exemption and forward the changes to the city council for approval. And this would be in very likely June. We have to set time and place, and then there's a public hearing at city council. If there's any questions, we can answer those for you.
All right. Again, before the board has an opportunity, I'll call for a public hearing. Public hearing is now opened on this matter. Any members of the public who would like to address this, please come forward now. Seeing none, public hearing is now closed. And so now, board members, if you have questions, I'm happy to recognize you. Commissioner Couture?
No, I don't have questions at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Fopua?
When you were talking, Michael, I'm a visual learner, and I'm trying to picture, how all these units are even defined or even how they look like. And so I have these crazy thoughts in my head. Perhaps we can create some models, those small models, and maybe put it somewhere here in the city to even for the public, how it looks like, and what to expect, how it will be able to adhere to all the regulations. And I am grateful that we are aligning with the state so that way everything is there, that hopefully hardly any findings at all. But then the question is, how many residents in Daly City that are adhering to these regulations and that are legally, adopting this?
Right.
So my thing, I just want to see the models created for how it will look
Yeah.
like,
Those are great.
Yeah. and maybe a showcase of it, for that this is how a junior and a, ADU. Just suggesting.
So one
Thank
of,
you.
Yes, you're welcome. And just to address that real quick, one of the laws the state passed is that the city has to develop, and we've done this, prototypes for ADUs that can be constructed. And those are located on the city's website. They're not in the exact location of this. You just have to type ADU prototype.
You can probably do 3Ds also, and have that online where you can visually see the 3D, which would give a lot of different examples of it as well. So, a good thought.
Thank you.
Commissioner Satori, any comments?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I would like to ask the director here if he knows this newly law that was signed, the AB 130, sponsored by Betty Wicks, which reinforces all your proposed amendment and modification to, because this new amended law, which is called Permit Streamline Act of the SECWA, I think it can cover this one.
Sure.
If you could just go online later on.
Yeah, we'll check it out.
I wouldn't want to squeeze on you on that, but if you will just read it, then probably we're okay.
Yes.
Because this one has been amended, the SECWA, by this 130,
Yes.
AB 130, sponsored by Betty Wicks. And it's now being in our, even in, as a member of the Planning Commissioner Academy, that's why this is being discussed now, how to implement this. I was listening the other day in Sacramento, and they're going to implement this because of the shortage of housing, ADU, JDU, and this will be covered.
Very good.
That's
Yes,
just
we'll
an
take a look at
information
it.
I'm relaying to you. So it is a reinforcement to your proposed modification. Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you,
Chairman.
Commissioner. So I think it makes total sense for us to be in compliance with the state, not have our own, which we'd have to modify all the time. So I echo the same concerns and support. Is there a motion to advance the recommendation of staff? I'll accept the motion if
Yes.
someone
Motion.
says so moved.
Yes.
Thank you. It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, so we've moved and seconded the recommendation of staff. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Cotoir,
Yes.
Commissioner Fapua,
Yes.
Chair Nuris,
Yes.
Commissioner Satori.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yes, this recommend to the city approval of zone change, everything. This is covered by the law, AB 130,
Oh,
sponsored by Betty Wicks.
very good.
All right, are there
Assembly.
any other public appearances tonight or staff communications for the board?
The staff has no communications from the planning commission.
Thank you. Acquisitions, vacations, et cetera. Nothing under those areas. So we're at the point where I'm happy to entertain a motion for adjournment. Been moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, then we're adjourned at, let's see, what is that? 7:56.
Happy Cinco de Mayo, everyone.
Yes,